What if I told you that paying off your mortgage early could be costing you hundreds of thousands of dollars? Or what if the opposite is true, and investing that extra cash is actually the financial mistake that keeps you up at night? Here's the thing, most people get this decision completely wrong, and it's not their fault. The banks aren't exactly lining up to give you the real math behind your mortgage, are they? Listen, if you're even asking this question, you're already ahead of 90% of people out there. Why? Because having extra money after paying your bills means you're doing something right. The average American saves just 3.6% of their income. Most folks are living paycheck to paycheck, so if you've got extra cash sitting there and you're wondering what to do with it, give yourself some credit. But here's where it gets interesting. By the end of this video, you're going to know exactly what to do with that extra money. And I'm not just going to give you some generic advice. We're going to run the actual numbers, break down the hidden tricks banks use in your mortgage, and I'll show you 3 specific strategies you can use starting today. Before we dive in, do me a quick favor. Hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications. Trust me, you'll want to catch the next videos where we break down even more ways to build real wealth. It takes 2 seconds, and it helps me keep making content like this for you. All right, let's get into it. Okay, so first things first. Before we can figure out whether to pay off your mortgage or invest, you need to understand how your mortgage payment actually works. Because honestly, when I first learned this, I was shocked. It felt like I'd been lied to my entire life. Here's the deal. When you take out a mortgage, let's say $400,000 for a house, the bank doesn't just hand you the money and say, pay us back whenever. They're a business. They want their cut, so they charge you interest on that loan. Makes sense, right? But here's the part that blew my mind. Your monthly mortgage payment is split into 2 parts, principal and interest. Principal is the actual amount you borrowed, the money that goes toward paying off the house. Interest is the bank's profit. Pure and simple. Now, here's where it gets sneaky. On a $400,000 mortgage with a 7% interest rate over 30 years, your monthly payment is about $2,660. Sounds reasonable, right? But check this out. In your very first payment, only $327 goes toward your actual house. The other $2,333? That's going straight to the bank as interest. Let me say that again. Out of your $2,660 payment, you're only paying down $327 of what you actually owe. The rest is just profit for the bank. And it gets worse. This keeps going for years. In fact, for the first 20 years of your 30-year mortgage, more than half of every single payment you make is going to interest, not to paying off your house. Think about that. You could pay your mortgage religiously for 2 decades and still owe more than half of what you borrowed. The technical term for this is amortization, which is just a fancy word for how your payments are structured over time. Banks front-load all the interest payments because they need to get paid first. And honestly, can you blame them? They're not running a charity. But here's the kicker. Over the full 30 years of a $400,000 mortgage at 7% interest, you won't just pay back $400,000. You'll pay back almost $958,000. That's right. More than $500,000 in interest alone. You're literally paying for your house twice. Now, the interest rate matters a ton here. If your rate was 5%, you'd pay about $373,000 in interest. At 3%, you'd pay around $207,000. So your interest rate can literally be the difference between hundreds of thousands of dollars. This is why understanding your mortgage is so critical, because if you can reduce that principal balance early, you're not just paying off your house faster, you're cutting down on all that interest you'd be paying over the life of the loan, and that's where the real savings happen. All right, now that you know how mortgages work, let's talk about the stock market, because this is where the rubber meets the road. The big question, should you take that extra $500 or $1,000 a month and throw it at your mortgage, or should you invest it? Let's start with the stock market. Historically, the S&P 500 has returned about 10% per year on average since 1957. Now, that's before taxes. After taxes, a more realistic number is probably around 7% to 8%. Not bad, right? Compare that to your mortgage interest rate. If your mortgage rate is 3% and you make extra payments, you're essentially earning a guaranteed 3% return on that money, because every dollar you pay toward your principal is one less dollar you're paying interest on. So if we're just looking at the numbers, it's pretty simple. If your mortgage rate is 3% and the stock market averages 7% to 8%, you're better off investing. You're making more money by putting it in the market than you're saving by paying down your mortgage early. Let me give you a real example. Let's say you have an extra $500 a month. If you invest that $500 every month for 25 years at an 8% return, you'll end up with about $473,000. That's the power of compound interest working for you. Now, if you take that same $500 and put it toward your mortgage every month, you'll save about $188,000 in interest over the life of the loan. That's huge, don't get me wrong, but it's not $473,000. So mathematically, if you have a low interest rate, like 2.5% to 3%, or even up to 5%, investing almost always wins. You're just going to make more money over time by putting it in the stock market. But here's where it gets tricky. What if your mortgage rate is 6% or 7%, like a lot of mortgages are right now? Well, now the math gets a lot closer. At 6%, you're getting a guaranteed, risk-free, tax-free 6% return by paying down your mortgage early. And let me tell you, a guaranteed 6% return is nothing to sneeze at. The stock market might average 7% to 8%, but it's not guaranteed. Some years you're up 20%. Other years, like 2018 or 2022, you're down 10% or more. There's risk involved. Paying down your mortgage? Zero risk. You know exactly what you're getting. Plus, there's one more huge factor we need to talk about: time. The longer you have left on your mortgage, the more investing makes sense, because the stock market has more time to work its magic and compound those returns. If you've got 25 or 30 years left on your mortgage, investing that extra cash is probably going to give you the best return. But if you've only got 5 or 10 years left, the math gets closer, and paying down your mortgage might make more sense. So, here are my 2 rules of thumb. Rule number 1, the lower your mortgage interest rate, the more you should lean toward investing. Rule number 2, the longer your time horizon, the more you should lean toward investing. Simple as that. Now, I know what you're thinking. Okay, cool, the math says I should invest. We're done here, right? Not so fast. Because here's the thing, money isn't just about math, it's about how you feel. Let me ask you this. How would it feel to wake up one day and not have a mortgage payment? To know that no matter what happens, no one can take your house away? That's powerful. That's peace of mind. And you can't put a price on that. And here's another thing people don't think about. If you own your home outright, it's an asset you can pass down to your kids. It's generational wealth. That's huge. So you've got to balance all of this: the math, the psychology, your personal situation. All right, so let's say you've decided you want to pay off your mortgage early. Maybe the peace of mind is worth it. Whatever the reason, here are 3 strategies you can use starting today. Strategy number 1, bi-weekly payments. Instead of making one monthly payment, you split it in half and pay every 2 weeks. There are 52 weeks in a year, so you're making 26 bi-weekly payments. That's the equivalent of 13 monthly payments. This strategy alone will save you over 6 years of payments. Strategy number 2, pay an extra $100 or $200 a month. Just add a little bit to your payment every month. If you pay an extra $200 a month on that same $400,000 mortgage, you'll save 6 years of payments and $126,000 in interest. Skip a few dinners out, cut one subscription, boom, you've got it. Strategy number 3, lump sum payments. This is perfect if you get a bonus at work or a tax refund. Instead of spending it, throw it at your mortgage. Let's say you get a $12,500 bonus one year. Put that toward your principal and you'll shave almost 3 years off your mortgage. But here's the key. When you set this up, make sure you tell your bank to apply these payments to the principal, not future interest. You'd be surprised how many people don't do this and wonder why they're not making progress. So here's the bottom line. If you've got a low rate and long time horizon, investing wins math-wise. But if you want peace of mind or have a high rate, paying it off is a valid choice. There's no one-size-fits-all answer here. Drop a comment below. Are you team pay off the mortgage or team invest? I want to hear your reasoning. And if you found this helpful, hit that like button and subscribe. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you in the next video. Peace.